Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented the Union Budget 2022-23 today. While it has many futuristic policies like the extension of the ECLGS, battery swapping for e-vehicles, developing high-utility solar modules, etc., and of course, there is also the taxation of cryptocurrency and any virtual digital asset. The RBI will be soon rolling out India's official digital currency. There isn't much really for the Aam Aadmi in terms of tax rates or slabs, both of which have been left unchanged. One good thing, though, there is nothing populist in this budget in keeping with the upcoming elections. That in itself is a break from budgets previously. The question, though, is will this budget spur India back into the high growth orbit of 8% plus growth? All right, so let's just walk you through the big outlays as far as budget 2022-23 is concerned. 2 lakh crores budget outlay as far as MSMEs are concerned. Remember, they are the worst hit because of the pandemic. Make in India will create 6 million jobs over the next 3 to 4 years. Also, there's been a separate allocation of 48,000 crores essentially for affordable housing under the Prime Minister's Awas Yojana. There's going to be a digital rupee using blockchain technology which will be issued by the RBI in this coming financial year. 65% defense allocation for domestic companies within the defense budget. This is essentially to encourage Make in India in defense. All of this is going to give a huge impetus to industry. But the big announcement that had a lot of our viewers, particularly the younger viewers watching this broadcast and watching us on YouTube, really concerned and excited was A, the announcement of an official digital currency which the RBI will issue, and also tax of 30% on any income that is derived from a virtual digital asset. Let's play out some of the sound bites from the Finance Minister, and then we'll introduce our special guest panel that will be joining us soon.
I said the Reserve Bank will be issuing a digital currency. Currency becomes a currency is a currency only when it is issued by the central bank. So let's first understand we are not taxing currency that is yet to be issued, and that provision is now made, and the currency in the name of digital rupee will be issued. Exact name you'll get a bit later, but Reserve Bank is the one which is going to issue it. And what Reserve Bank issues is the digital currency. Everything that prevails outside of it in the name of digital whatever are assets being created by individuals. And in transacting that asset, if there are profits being made, we are taxing that profit at 30%.
The outlay for capital expenditure in the union budget is once again being stepped up sharply by 35.4% from 5.54 lakh crore in the current year to 7.50 lakh crores in 22-23. This has increased to more than 2.2 times the expenditure of 2019-20. This outlay in 22-23 will be 2.9% of the GDP.
विकास का नया विश्वास लेकर आया है। ये बजट अर्थव्यवस्था को मजबूती देने के साथ ही सामान्य मानवी के लिए अनेक नए अवसर बनाएगा। ये बजट मोर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, मोर इन्वेस्टमेंट, मोर ग्रोथ और मोर जॉब्स की नई संभावनाओं से भरा हुआ है।
All right, for the best insights into Budget 22-23, we'll be joined by two very special academic guests to analyze threadbare whether this is a defining budget or whether this is an also-ran. Professor Rajiv Kumar is the Vice Chairperson of the Niti Aayog. He will be joining us a little later on in the broadcast. We'll also be joined by a very special guest all the way from Washington, D.C., the Executive Director at the International Monetary Fund, Dr. Surjit Bhalla, and also somebody who used to be a special expert here on CNN News 18. He will be joining us as well to weigh in on whether this is a history-making budget. But first, let me introduce our other guests who are joining us in the first half of the broadcast. Kiran Majumdar-Shaw is Executive Chairperson of Biocon Industries. Of course, the huge impetus on health over the last 2 or 3 years because of the pandemic. Our political spokespersons tonight, Gopal Krishna Agarwal is spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Shama Mohammed, spokesperson of the Congress Party, and our industry voices, Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani is Vice Chairman of NAREDCO, and Sunil Alag, Business Brand Consultant, SK Advisors, is also joining us. Let me start with the political spokespersons first. The big announcement and something that all our viewers have been very curious about, very interested in, and I said this at the top of the show as well, Gopal Agarwal, is about the virtual digital assets. Both the RBI deciding to officially release India's digital currency, and B, the thinking behind taxing virtual digital assets at 30%, income derived from these assets at 30%. What is the thinking? Because a lot of folks are saying this will be, in fact, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala spoke to us earlier and he said this is going to be the death of cryptocurrency.
I think if people, those who are thinking that this is the that the government will like to go for a cryptocurrency as a legal tender for transaction is not feasible at any level. Only thing that the people are thinking is that the those who are investing into cryptocurrency is that they are considering it as an asset class. And digital currency issued by the centralized bank is almost complete. All features of the cryptocurrency are there: blockchain technology, distributed ledger, everything. But only thing is that the clearing bank is the centralized bank, so that the illegal money cannot get into the whole ecosystem of financial transactions. So digital currency is the way forward for the country, for our country, and this is the way forward for many countries in the field of digital payment or digital transactions, etc. As far as digital cryptocurrency is considered, we have to understand that crypto and currency. Crypto is an algorithm which has multiple uses for everything. Yeah. It's a blockchain technology, so that we are going to promote. And for regulating this cryptocurrency as an asset class, government is coming out with a proper bill where everything will be taken care of, how you will invest. And even our Supreme Court has said about that, we should come out with a proper law.
I want to ask Dr. Shama Mohammed, just in terms of capex, the allocation for capital expenditure is a whopping 7.5 lakh crores. We have not had anywhere in the budgets past this kind of allocation for capital expenditure. And I think it's basic economic sense that when you're coming out of a pandemic, you need greater public expenditure. You need the government to take the lead. And that's why record allocation has been made for CAPEX. It was 5.5 lakh crores last time around. It's been increased by 34% to 7.5 lakh crores. What more would you have the government do in terms of the investment push, public expenditure push, and the hope that that public expenditure will not just drive, as the finance minister said in a budget speech, crowd in private investment, but also generate employment?
First and foremost, Zaka, this is a very, very capitalist budget. And let's understand one very important thing about this is, let's not forget, this is the year 2022, where the farmer income should have been doubled. This was announced in 2017. In that same year, before that, in fact, they've announced that by this time, 2 crore jobs per year. By this time, it should have been 10 crore jobs. But Mrs. Sitharaman has announced 60 lakh jobs in 5 years. 60 lakh jobs in 5 years. I mean, what are you talking about capital expenditure? What did the poor get? What did the middle class get? Were they tax cut for the middle class? Were there any jobs, employment? I did not see. Were there any direct transfer of money to the poor? See, we know at this point of time the most important thing is consumption. Consumption and demand has gone down. What has the Prime Minister done for that, or for the Finance Minister? What we saw was cut in subsidies in agriculture, cut in subsidies in petroleum products, cut in subsidies in food. So every subsidy has gone down. This
No, but
has
Shama, everybody, including when your party was in power, everybody has been saying that food subsidy, fertilizer subsidy, fuel subsidy has to go. It's just basic economic sense. I mean, I've been hearing this for the last 20 years. So if the allocation has come down, I don't think that's a bad thing. That is a good thing.
So let me ask you one thing, Zaka. What is the time right now when the COVID has affected jobs? Have 84% of people in our country have incomes gone down. For more than 4 crore people have gone into dire poverty, and at that time you're supposed to be doing this.
No, can you give me one second? You argue for food subsidy. One second. You argue for food subsidy. Can you give me one good reason through the course of the pandemic, 2 years straight now, 800 million people have been beneficiaries of the PDS, and the food subsidy has gone from what, 2.4 lakh to I think a little over 2 lakh crore, and that is a problem?
So of course you have to increase it right now. We are seeing a lot of poverty in this country because demand has gone up. There's unemployment. You know that the rural...
I don't know increasing food subsidy or fuel subsidy or fertilizer subsidy is the way to put money in the hands of the middle class. I think it's the opposite of that. And more importantly, I don't think that's the one that's required to spur consumption or to put disposable income in the pockets of people. But Sunil Alagh, you understand these things better than I do. So go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong. Sunil Alagh.
You know, actually, look, it's a great budget because it's laid out a 3-year plan. And I think CapEx is very important. CapEx can go through investment. And there's no question about once the economy comes up, then automatically everybody's going to go up. So there are many good points in the budget. My only area of worry, if you ask me, is inflation, because they've assumed that the price of oil will remain at $70 to $75 per barrel, and it's already $90. Now, once the price goes up, then they will have to raise the prices again, and that might have a cascading effect on all products right down the line. So that's an area of worry, that how have they come to an assumption of $70 to $75 when the current price is $90? So that's one area of worry. Now, you talk about demand generation, yes. It's another area which worry, because most of the FMCG companies that I'm involved in, the volumes have remained static in the last 1 year. And therefore, the value has gone up because they've raised prices, but the volumes have been static. So I would have expected the lower end of the middle income group, not the upper end of the middle income group. The lower end of the middle income group could have been given some money. So other than those two areas, I think it's a terrific budget. There's no question in my mind that this is the best budget that could have come out.
I want to ask Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, specifically with regard to the real estate sector. It's the biggest employment generator in the country. The only standout thing that I saw was 48,000 crores being allocated for affordable housing. I think the commitment is to build a little over 80 lakh houses in the coming financial year. Beyond that, is there anything that you saw in terms of net positive for the real estate sector? Because that's also been going through a slump, not just because of the pandemic, but even prior to that, things had flattened out quite a bit. So do you see any impetus to try and kickstart the real estate sector in the budget?
Dil mange more. We definitely wanted more because we felt that the various other segments should also be catered for. For example, the PMAY scheme caters for those people who go into the housing segment below 45 lakhs. So we were looking forward for something which would go for the middle income, and those who are in urban areas like Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi and other places where the cost of land being higher, the price of real estate is more than that, and there is no benefit in terms of housing in that segment. But there are two recognition which has happened, which I think has come from the finance minister and which we have been talking about for many years. It's about the ease of doing business and the problems in terms of approvals. I think she has made a statement very clearly that they are going to start working with the state governments in terms of approval process in terms of housing segments, which is affecting the housing sector. and also a committee which talks about reforms in this sector. I think these two are very, very, very important because investment in this sector takes long periods of time. You may get quicker approvals in terms of the local authority, but then you need environmental approvals, you need height approvals, you need aviation approvals, you need forest approvals, you need lake approvals. All this is taking too much time. And I think that is something which Mr. Sunil Alag mentioned some time ago in another conference, that is something which we need to cater for in that. But the positive in terms of is the overall infrastructure investment. I think that is a very big and positive story. Because if you get growth in our country, you get employment, you get prosperity, and we can only distribute prosperity in the country. You cannot distribute poverty. So I think the direction in terms of getting a capex, which is going much higher. So the higher collection of GST, which is 1,41,000 crores, I think a large amount of it is going into capex expenditure, which is the positive story. Because I think that is there. Of course,
I think both on direct and indirect taxes. On direct, for example, the budget says 12 lakh crores plus is where this fiscal will end, the 21-22 fiscal. And also on indirect taxes, you're right. 1.4 lakh is for the month of January. We've had 7 straight months of 1 lakh crores plus in GST. But I want to go across to Kiran Majumdar-Shaw. And you know, we've had such a big focus on healthcare in the last couple of years because of the pandemic in a way that we haven't seen in budgets previously. So when it came to this year's budget, what are your first impressions, your first takeaways, particularly for the healthcare sector? Again, the allocation, the outlay for healthcare has gone up substantially. What I'm given to understand, it's just a shade under 90,000 crores. Are you happy with the outlay? What more specifically would you have liked to see in the budget with regard to the healthcare sector?
Well, I think the healthcare sector in general has got a few mentions, I think, in terms of, digital health, in terms of basically mental health, which I thought was very important. And I'm glad that it got a mention and an initiative based on, getting NIMHANS and IIITB in Bangalore to look at teleconsulting for mental illness, which I think is very important. But as far as the pharma sector is concerned, even though there was a mention of research, I think very little was really, called out at the budgetary outlay level, because I don't see any budgetary allocation for pharma research at a private, level. There has been a allocation for the National Research Foundation. I know that the Department of Biotechnology has got a research allocation, but private sector research actually does not get a mention, even though I think in all fairness, the finance minister did refer to blended financing. So we need to read the fine print. So hopefully there is something in it, because I personally believe that the pharma industry has to move up the value chain. We must invest in, high-risk innovation if we have to move the needle in terms of the global pharma market capture. And that's what my, engagement with the government has been over the months, saying, please announce some research-linked incentives, because they have done away with weighted tax reduction. Towards R&D expenditure.
So let me go back then to Dr. Agarwal and to Shama Mohammed as well. I want to come back to one critical area, Gopal Krishna Agarwal, which has been a big pain point, and it's perhaps borne the brunt of the pandemic, and that's been the contact-intensive industries, whether it is hospitality, travel, tourism, etc. And the one thing that we saw was the ECLGS has been extended. Another 50,000 crores has been added, particularly for the hospitality sector. And I'm curious to know, is that enough? Because voices in that industry that we've been speaking to were looking to some form of tax deduction, were looking to, encouragement of domestic tourism and travel. We haven't seen any of that, but the ECLGS has been extended by the tune of 50,000 crores.
Zaka, we have to understand two basic points I would like to tell here about what BJP philosophy on economic policies. We believe in business, market economy, free market economy, and we also believe that businessmen and industries are partner in the national building. And we do not believe in what I call socialism and a crony socialism of the kind which Congress follows. The next point I would like to mention is industry also at sometimes are confused. At one point they want a free hand, and then they say that even research development etc government should finance. The industry is corporate tax we have reduced, indirect tax has been reduced, government is increasing its expenditure in every year, IBC reform is taking place, and then just now you mentioned about MSME sector, defense giving 50,000 crore, and micro and small businesses are being given 2 lakh crore extended credit guarantee. Then there is a urban infrastructure development, Gati Shakti, more than 2 lakh crores is being invested. Urban planning, development, design is there. Then defense sector is getting support for reservation of 68% of the defense procurement for domestic industries. So ultimately, this is the overall plan of economic development that we follow. You cannot have both ways. Even private sector sometimes say give us fiscal stimulus and give us the independence. So
no, the only reason why I asked particularly about the hospitality sector is because it has been badly hit in the pandemic.
Zaka, the 50,000 what you mentioned, in addition to PLI support is there, in addition that infrastructure development, road, railways, connectivity, airports, all these create a good infrastructure for housing sector. The government has also announced about the supply chain bottlenecks and other things also, and import duty. So I am telling you, there is an overall plan in this budget to boost the economy, and it is all, and 14 sector PLI is being given. So this is not the
Shama
end.
Mohammed, at the end of the day, I think he has a point in terms of the larger point that Gopal Krishna Agarwal is trying to make, that industry can't be expecting handouts from government. For one, we've been expecting the private investment cycle to turn and show green shoots. It's beginning to show green shoots in the last sort of the first 9 months of 2021. Hopefully that private investment cycle will take off. It will become the virtuous cycle that we're all expecting it to become. But more importantly, industry can't keep expecting handouts, even if, as badly as they've been battered through the pandemic. All of us have been affected through the pandemic.
Please allow me to
speak. We are giving them support.
Shama Mohammed.
He said a couple of things like GST has gone down. Where? GST is at the same rate. Then one more thing you said, private investment has to grow. How can they grow when you have such tariffs? Why don't you reduce the tariffs? You have gone up and become this Atmanirbhar, and there's a protectionism out here. Of course, who's going to invest here? I mean, if suppose you're manufacturing a car here, and if you're going to...
No, budget has reduced. You have to be correct in your statement. Budget has reduced steel and other import duty and
okay, let her finish, Gopal Agarwal. Let her finish, Gopal Agarwal. We heard you. Let her finish though, sir, please, yes.
When you're manufacturing a car, for example, if you increase the tariffs for each of the product, then there's a problem because we can't export it. The price is too high. That's the problem. Tariffs are very high, and we're doing a protection sort of government where investment is going to be difficult. The other thing is about healthcare. Healthcare for this year is 74,820 crores. But for next year, if Ms. Shaw is here, it is 41,000 crore. That's going down. Manrega, for example, has come down from 98,000 crore to 73,000 crore this year. I mean, that's when we really need Manrega. See, we have to understand one thing about economy. Only thing which can drive this economy is consumption and demand. Unless and until we give direct, money to people and have employment, we are going nowhere. The other thing is MSMEs. He was talking about MSMEs. What did Nirmala Sitharaman say? 6,000 crore in a period of 5 years, and that too through credit and loans. They need
it's the 2 lakh crore MSMEs is through PLIs.
And also, listen to me. And they need a stimulus. 60 lakh MSMEs have been shut down. Whatever economic survey says, they talk about the formal economy. Let's understand about our informal economy. Nobody's talking about that.
Okay.
That is what we need to support the
All right.
micro.
I want to go to Sunil Alag and back to Dr. Hiranandani as well. Dr. Sunil Alag, one thing, and I think the opposition is right in when they say that why is private investment cycle not kicking in? We've been waiting for I think the better part of almost half a decade now for the private investment cycle to turn into a virtuous one. Why has that not happened? And are you seeing green shoots of that? For example, in the first 9 months between April and December of 2021, we're given to understand that the private sector invested to the tune of 8.7 lakh crore out of the 12 lakh odd crore that's been invested through those 9 months. Do you see the first green shoots of the private investment cycle kicking in, or are we still a long way off from there?
No, I think you start seeing the green shoot as long as the demand start going up for their product. See, look, what has happened over the last 1 year is that the volumes have become a little static. People have started making money by actually cutting costs as well as, sacking people or whatever, and they've gone in for that. So either you follow the supply push side or the demand pull side. Now, the government has followed the supply push side, and they expect that if the economy grows, the demand will grow. Now, there are many economists who say, look, the demand generation should happen now. And once the demand comes, then the private sector will automatically invest into factories and get employment into the whole lot. Otherwise, they will hold back because they have to, they have to answer to the shareholders like the Prime Minister answers to the public.
Yeah.
Look, ultimately, at the end of the day, if you ask me, look, it's a great vision, it's a great policy, but look, I've raised 1 or 2 areas of concern. Also, they must speed up disinvestment. What they've done with disinvestment is, so far they've done only 8 to 10% of what was the target for the whole year. Now, if they move at that speed, I can understand doing 50, 60% and not achieving 100. But doing only 8 or 10, they'd have got more money to spend then.
No, so
that's all I'm saying. There has to be some speed.
I just want to run our viewers through this. The target for the current financial year was 1.75 lakh crores, including Air India and I think BPCL and so on, of which it's now been revised to 78 lakh crores. And for the coming financial year, FY23, it's been revised further down to 65,000 crores. So some would say, it's a very conservative estimate for disinvestment and so on. But Dr. Hiranandani, I'll take a break right after your answer on this. Is the disinvestment target and the disinvestment philosophy, it's a great thing that Air India has been sold back to the Tatas, or sold off to the Tatas, but that seems to be just a one-off.
I agree with you entirely that the disinvestment target is too conservative. I think it should have been at least 1,50,000 crores, looking at LIC, looking at the gas companies and all the other centers which have been there. Land disinvestment, plenty of it is available throughout the country, whether it is with the railways, with the ports, with various public sector units and others. I think at least 1,50,000 crores could have been that. Amount of additional raising of funds that could have been possible at this point of time. And it could have gone further to increase into infrastructure of the country, including health, education, and other segments that I think remain to be actually grown.
All right.
We need
okay,
to
just give me a second. I'm sorry I'm
of
interrupting. I need a moment because what we're going to do now is we're going to take a break, but I'll request all our experts to stay on with us. I'll thank both Dr. Shama Mohammed and Gopal Krishna Agarwal, but our industry voices, our experts will continue to stay on with us. We'll also, on the other side of the break, be speaking with Dr. Rajiv Kumar and Dr. Surjit Bala. Quick break. I'll see you right on the other side in a minute.